And I want to start by mentioning what Mr. Suzuki said on Friday, his concerns that are growing about how the brokerages, the firms that sold investors these bonds, whether or not all these transactions were handled properly in the sense of what the people did and didn't know about the purchases they were buying or the bonds they were buying. He said that the FSA, this is your group, hold a top position there, is going to follow up on how brokerages were treating their customers. So what does that mean? How are you going to follow up? What are you going to be looking for?
Well, first of all, we've already identified the all sales by Japanese broker firms to Japanese investors, including retail investors. So now we're following up the how securities firms and brokerage firms are dealing with customers. Of course, how they sold the AT1 bonds to the bank investors, but also. First of all, we need to make it sure that the brokerage firms have enough and clear explanation to investors currently, so that they can understand the situation.
So, what kind of are you getting complaints, and what kind of complaints are you getting? Are there signs, for example, that sales processes were not exactly proper, not what they should have been?
Well, we haven't had that sort of clear message, not yet.
You have not?
Not yet.
But that's the kind of thing you're looking for?
But we need to make sure that.
So what will you do if you do find that brokerage firms did anything inappropriate when they were selling these bonds? What will you do? What do you intend?
Well, I think it's too early to say. You know, we first need to identify whether the process is well established or not.
So I know with structured bonds here in Japan, recently there were those kinds of problems when brokerages were not, and there were some actions. What kind of action could be taken or would be taken if you do find that this was not handled the way it should have been by the brokerage firms?
Well, generally speaking, we focus on their management process, whether they have good management process about the sales to the customers. And if their management process is not well established, we can issue improvement order.
Okay.
And also, sometimes we may issue the order to restrict some of the business for a defined period.
So do you have any time frame on this when you think you are going to have the information that you can make some report back to the finance minister or to the public on what did or didn't happen?
Well, it's not decided yet.
You're not decided yet? So it's an open investigation right now?
But it's not investigation,
information gathering?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you also about broadly speaking, after what the world has gone through, certainly the U.S. to Credit Suisse, credit risk was the problem in great financial crisis. This is interest rate risk. Are you concerned that interest rate risk still exists? Certainly there's, in Japan, there are a lot of banks that own many JGBs. Do you see anything there that would prompt new rules, new regulations from Japan?
Well, as you know, that in Japan, interest rate is still low. So unlike the U.S. or Europe, I think that we need to focus on the rise in Japanese yen interest rate. And also, of course, so let me explain our supervisor approaches. We identified, the Japanese banks, which warrant enhanced supervision from the standpoint, from the viewpoint of their risk management and their securities portfolios, and we have very close monitoring of their activities. And of course, some of them may have weaker risk management, but we have very close discussion with them and encourage them to improve their risk management before risks materialize.
Okay. How about the international regulations and how all these different rules and frameworks work together after seeing what happened again at SVB and Credit Suisse? Do you think there's any new international cooperation and any international rules that need to be put in place, or at least rethought?
Well, I think first of all, we need to identify what the problems. And maybe the first clear problem is liquidity. Liquidity management, current liquidity management did not address the liquidity situation in digital era. I think many people, including me, are surprised, shocked by the speed of the outflow of deposit in digital areas. And as you know, that once run has started, it wouldn't stop unless there's a clear, announcement by central banks or so on. So maybe they need to have very good operational liquidity management.
So just quickly to follow up on that question, do you think that there are some new kinds of procedures that have to agree to internationally, again, some kind of regulations, knowing that liquidity perhaps is the new challenge?
Well, but having more liquidity in normal days does not help a lot, because once run started, it continue. So if you have more liquidity, it may give you 1 or 2 hours more, but it wouldn't help you. It wouldn't make banks viable. So I think what we need is very good operational liquidity management. So we need to. Banks as well as authorities need to review our process of liquidity management, I think.